Hello and welcome. Today I am joined by Ollie Beckett, who is the fund manager for the TR European Growth Trust. Ollie, thank you very much for joining us here today. Now, it's been a very turbulent year for equity and bond investors around the world. So what I'd like to know is, what do you think was the most surprising event, or perhaps the most impactful event of 2018?
The biggest impact has really come from politics, and I guess Mr. Trump in particular. And him particularly sort of launching these trade wars against China. You know, and maybe he's justified, I don't know really, but it's obviously been quite sort of divisive rhetoric, and that's worried investors. I mean, at the moment, the US economy is growing very strongly. People are concerned about the sustainability of it. But on top of that, people are worried how long this trade war goes on for. So the thing we underestimated definitely has been the impact of politics and the impact of Mr. Donald Trump and his Twitter account.
And without asking you to look into a crystal ball, would you be able to offer your thoughts on markets in 2019? And what would you be looking for from a European small cap perspective?
Well, look, there is global growth. We're still looking at GDP growth next year even of 3.5%. So there's a sort of general view that a recession is now inevitable. I think that's far from true. And if we could have some sort of more positive political news, I say, sort of repeating myself, but a trade deal would be the best thing outcome. So that would alleviate a lot of concerns. Sentiment is really negative. European equities look really cheap versus the US. They're now trading at a heavy discount. As I said, the valuations are very attractive and sentiment sort of is very negative. So that normally creates an opportunity. So I wouldn't be too negative on European equities, and I wouldn't be that negative on European smaller companies.
Now, Europe is undergoing a turbulent period politically, which is not unique on the global stage. So what would you reasonably hope to see in 2019 as a Europe-focused investor?
Look, as we go into next year, the beginning of, well, sort of spring of next year, we'll have the European elections. And maybe we don't get any resolution of the sort of conflict between the Italian government and the European Union before then. But it would be good if we had some sort of compromise between the Italians and Frankfurt or Brussels or Berlin, whatever you want to call it. That would be the best news. Also, maybe some resolution within Germany, who might take over from Angela Merkel, and maybe the most positive for equity markets would be further European Union integration. That would be a positive for Europe. And clearly a deal on Brexit wouldn't go amiss too.
Now, scepticism towards Europe has always been a challenge for European equity managers. What would you say is perhaps the most overlooked or underappreciated aspect of European companies?
Europe politically might appear a shambles from the outside. But as a reminder, you've got sort of 12 countries. There's always going to be political noise. But beyond that, there's some very good companies within Europe who always sort of muddle through and adjust to whatever sort of politics is out there. So there are some very good companies generating very high returns who are currently looking pretty undervalued. So as I say, valuations are low, and that's the biggest sort of upside you can see within Europe at the moment.
Ollie Beckett, thank you very much for joining us today.
No, thank you.